Hey there, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent, excellent.
Good.
We should have a very short meeting tonight. I can't see it being more than a half hour, maybe even 20 minutes. But so I saw on the city website, you still have Bigfoot Morgan on there for our committee.
Yes, yeah, they're not totally updated yet with all of the people. That's one of the
No big deal.
things that I have to do.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, it's no big deal. I just noticed it, and I don't really care if you leave him on there.
Okay.
He is.
Now I'm not seeing your video. I'm not sure if that's on purpose.
Well, I'm trying to turn it on.
Okay, maybe I have to do it. Hold on.
There you
There
go.
it goes.
Uh,
There you are. Okay, good.
I haven't done, is this a new version where I had to sign in with my email?
It shouldn't be. It's possible that when I set it up, I should have set you up as an attendee. I'm not sure why it went that way. Did you use the link that I sent?
No, I used the link off the
That's
city
that's
website.
the reason. Panelists get a whole different link.
Oh,
You
wow.
you actually, I had to upgrade you. You were signed in as an attendee initially.
Oh. So you must be really good at this stuff now.
And this is only the second one I've run. So
Oh, really?
yes, yes.
Oh,
I mean,
well,
I've been to them, but normally Anne Marie runs them, but I'm running this one. So hopefully I do okay.
when are they going to stop this? When can we meet again in person?
I'm not sure. From what I understand, council's not ready, and there's no meetings that are being held. Although you guys had one early on, didn't you?
Yeah, too.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was fine. And then one of the city council members complained. I mean, we really need to be looking at art and discussing it, and you can't do it. And well, probably the same for many kinds of stuff. I mean, not just art.
I think the issue is the ability to separate enough, and the room is only so big. So I think that's the main reason, at least for now.
Yeah, well, it's we could actually all go out to dinner, and because restaurants have other legal, but so separation is legal in restaurants a certain way. So maybe I should propose a dinner meeting next time so we can all meet together. And then we would be in compliance with the state's regulations.
But the issue with that is the public accessibility and the ability for them to meet with you.
I don't think we get much public input at this point. We had a couple of people following us when we were picking our artwork, including that guy that he was so adamant about changing every detail on the contract that we ended up hiring a different guy. How silly of that was him. I mean, he was pretty crazy to do that. But he would have been horrible to work with. But,
Hi, Janet.
How are you, Janine? Hi,
I'm good.
Hi, Janet.
How are you, Cliff?
Any better, I'd be illegal. You know?
I had a boss that said if I were any better, I'd be twins. So, you know.
Well, sometimes I say, they say, how are you? I say, well, my wife says I'm better than nothing. So we were just discussing how long this Zoom stuff's gonna last. I find anyway, we do an awful lot of other things together. Is this Carrie's decision, or is this the city of Lewis's decision?
I don't know the
Is this a
answer to that.
governor's decision?
I don't know the answer to that. I think the idea that we have to allow for a certain number of people in all of the committees to be able to meet publicly, and we don't have the space to be able to separate, and you're only supposed to do a certain number of people per, per room.
Yeah, but I
So it
think.
could be a mix.
Well, I was thinking there was probably enough space for us to meet and then have it broadcast to the public and take things from the public that way. But
I'm not in charge. I'm just here.
I know that. So which one of you was working on trying to get some money from the state of Delaware?
So that would be me. And Carol and I have been communicating with them about the mural project, and it does not look like that will be, but as we move forward with other projects, we'll get those applications in before they actually start. And I know that
I interrupt you for a second. I'm sorry. Is Barry part of this committee?
Sure.
Okay. I just
Yes.
need to, I'll promote him because he came in as an attendee also. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, we're going to ask you, I mean, and you probably have to talk to the whole committee because, I mean, I thought we were going to get help from the city, from the state, and it seems to me they're hindering more than helping, and that's not a good thing. And if we can't rely on them, we can't rely on them.
Right. No,
But there are people that say, oh, we're there for you, Cliff, let us know what we can do. And then you run into whatever you ran into. So I'm going to ask you to talk about the experience a little bit, okay?
Okay. Sure. I will do my best coming in midstream.
Is
Well-
Carol also on the committee?
Yeah, she's still on the committee, and
Okay, all right.
and Carol's
Carol's coming in. I just wanted a lot of you are coming in as attendees, so I need to promote you to panelists so you can talk.
Oh.
I mean, I think it's been very hard because we're all trying to be very polite and not step on any fingers or toes, and yet a person on the other side of the telephone can just say, well, here's the rules, too bad, you guys, and we're not really, I mean, part of it is getting support, not just getting money.
Right.
And if those guys feel like their job is to sit there and say, did you go by the rules, yes or no, that's not supporting the arts. They're they're supposed to be helping us, and I don't feel, I'm not sure that, I don't know exactly what the experience was, but I don't think anyone said, hey, look, here's what we can do. Let's do it this way and this way and this way to get you some money and help you guys out. And we don't have that kind of a contact or that kind of interface. And that would be really, and that's the way it should be. So, and that's how they tell you they're going to be, but it didn't work out that way. So, as we're moving forward, because yeah, moving forward, we have to be able to ask them for money or not. So,
One more question. Tony from Peninsula Gallery, is he part of the committee?
no, I've never heard of him. Yes, he is.
I just want to make sure I'll promote him.
Promote him. Hi, Barry.
Here he comes.
I
Neat.
finally turned on my camera.
Oh, you have it. It's turned on. I can see you.
Well,
I
I
didn't-
didn't want to go on camera without combing my hair.
Well, I don't have that problem. I gotta just I should powder my dome because I got the overhead light on.
That's what George Washington did, right?
Yeah, and he refinished his wooden teeth. Hello, Andrew.
Hey, Cliff, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
I'm doing great. We're doing great. I'm so glad we're able to do this one more time. This should be a short meeting. I'm thinking no more than a half hour.
Good. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Tony.
Okay, cool.
Can't see you.
I know, I can't see me either.
Lower left corner, start your
Click
video.
on video.
There we go.
Aha, here I am.
Tony,
Well
Hey
done.
Denise,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Heidi. And is it 6:30? It's 6:30.
Oh, right on the nose. Give her a minute. She's
All right.
people a minute or two difference in. That's what I always say.
All right. Well, we could just talk about her a lot now that she's not here.
We could.
But
She was the one that that sort of hosted the artist for the mural.
yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
Any comments on the? Has anybody heard any additional comments on the mural that they want to share while we're waiting for her?
Has everybody seen the mural?
yeah,
All right, Janet, what do you think about this thing?
Are you putting me on the spot right away?
It's not an official meeting yet. I can do that.
No, I actually enjoyed it. I ride the bike path frequently, and it does make you stop, and it makes you stop for a period of time as you look for those iconic Lewis symbols. I think it's different, obviously, than anything that's been done, but I enjoy it.
Good, good. All
The one
right.
comment I heard was they would have liked to see the images a little larger. Some of the images are kind of small, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's more complicated than the sample that he gave us to start with. That's my only comment. And therefore, if you're riding a bike, for instance, you literally, as Janet just said, you have to stop. And you've got, you know, it's not something that that you can just ride past and think, well, that's a great mural. You really got to stop and examine it. And that may well be a very good thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one thing that when I was over there, I was talking to some people and they said what we like is we're here every week, or we walk our dog down here like a couple times a week, and we always find something new because there's so much there. So I guess there's positives and negatives to it.
I mean,
Well,
if the
definitely
aim of the
the
game was
benefit-
to get people to talk about it and like it or dislike it and all that sort of thing, I think we've achieved the aim.
Yeah, I think that was good. No, I think that was good.
I think also for people that are not familiar with Lewis and the iconic symbols and landmarks, it might encourage them to go off the trail and explore
Sure.
Lewis a little bit more.
Yeah.
So from the perspective of people that, you know, are just visiting and not familiar with the city, it might help in that aspect.
Well, I think that's a good point. I'm just glad people were having fun with it. And we actually I expected a little more pushback than we got. So I'm a little disappointed that everybody likes it. Yeah, you know, where's the controversy in that? Come on.
well, you had an ugly building, you know, nondescript, and now there's something there. So,
How can you argue with that?
yeah, I mean, it's.
Right. All right. Well, look, everybody's here now. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Okay, Jackie, I know you're listening because I can see your name up there. So I'm going to call this to order, and we're going to try and make this a rather short meeting. We don't have a whole lot going on. First item on the agenda was the approval of the minutes, and thank you, Jackie, for getting us all our own personal copy of all 4 minutes. We should probably, does anybody have an objection if we approve all of them in one? Does anybody have any objection or anything?
Additions or corrections?
You all got your own copies, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did anybody have any additions or corrections to any of their copies of any of the 4 dates that we're looking at?
I don't.
Some of them are so long that I don't even remember what they were.
All right, can I get a motion to approve them?
So moved.
Second,
All right, All in favor of approving art committee meetings of 7/14, 8/17, 8/20, and 9/22
I,
of this year?
Aye.
All right, so they're approved. Okay, the second agenda item was the possibility of a second mural site down in that area. Did everybody get over there and look at it?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna go and ask around here. Denise, what did you think?
I thought the building, I thought it was difficult to see. It's kind of tucked away. I think I said at the last meeting, I'm not in favor of us doing another mural on another City of Lewis building. I think we're gonna get pigeonholed into, we do murals on buildings. And I think we need to broaden ourselves.
Okay, Barry? What did you think about
Um,
the idea?
I think it's, the side of the building's pretty boring, but to devote resources to that space, which is limited exposure, you can kind of see it from the bike trail, but kind of not. So it's not really a prominent location. It was, it's something that's available, but
Right. Just because it's available doesn't mean you want to
right.
take it out
And
to.
I don't know how I used to live right across the street from it. I don't know how the residents would weigh in on that. I mean, if there was something really huge graphic or something, that might not be something that I want to look at every day for 18 months.
Tony, what do you think?
But
Well, I actually think I agree with everybody that's spoken so far. And in particular, the fact that just because something's available doesn't mean that we have to use it. I don't think it's necessarily the best place to put a mural if we think we want to do another mural.
I think the other problem I have is it's practically right next to the other one that we did.
Well, Barry, I mean, I think I see a consensus here that we're not going to go forward with that. Does anybody else? Carol, did you have any?
Just my 2 cents. I think it's nice to have something that will surprise people in a place that they weren't expecting it. But this is so far off the track that I
Okay.
think that you wouldn't expose it to many people at all.
All right. So, all right, I think then the consensus is, Heidi, I see you nodding your head. Let's take that as your speech, unless you have something to
You're back on mute.
add. There you go. Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
So my only 2 cents is that I do think we could do something cool if we really, really thought about it, but I don't think it's I don't think it's the best use of our time and resources.
I personally disagree with every one of you guys. And I think Denise said it perfectly well. It's kind of pigeonholed over there. So I like the idea that we're going to be selected just because it's available doesn't mean we need to use it. So Barry, as our secretary, will you write a nice note back to the lady from the city who asked that we paint something on their wall?
Allison?
Yeah. You work with her on the committees, right?
I
Would
can do that.
would you mind sending her a note?
I would be happy to do that.
I mean, I think we should, since they requested it in writing, we should respond.
And I probably should be jotting down all the reasons why we didn't take them up on it too.
Difficult to see, didn't want to do another mural quite so close.
Yeah, proximity to the existing.
Yeah.
Well, I think saying like we're using resources for other things right now, but leaving it open if we ever wanted to do
That's the
anything.
thing. You could consider it again in 18 months, right? Because that's when the.
Yeah.
I don't think we should dismiss it out of hand. I think we need to put it on the back burner.
And tell them how much we appreciate the opportunity that they asked. That was really great.
I mean, maybe it's
And also the fact that it could be too in your face for the neighbors right across the street.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, and there's 3 or 4 houses that, I mean, they would see it every day.
Or you could just say that just Tony thought it was a bad idea, and that's all we need to know.
I mean, I
But
think
maybe
if
the
we-
neighbors would love it.
Yeah, if we did
I've
something
got
there, it
broad
should be-
shoulders. I don't care. You can blame.
I mean, you know, maybe in future, it could be a, you know, a project at the high school or something.
Yeah, but for a lot of reasons, though. I mean, I think we named like 5 good reasons why this
Yep.
isn't where we want to send our energy. So we'll send our energy forward.
Well, and I think if we revisited it, it should end up as like jewelry for that that building, not a whole mural. Like something that's like an additional, but it's cool if you find it, but it's
Like that metal sculptor lady.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
that one that didn't quite take up the whole space, that was a,
yeah, something.
But I do think it's really hard to see. You have to really want to look over there. If you're passing on the bike path, you'll never see it. And so it's not high enough traffic.
Well, and to devote resources and money to something like that, I mean, that's something that we have to think
and you
about.
got that big blower on the top of the wall and everything else. So let's move on to the next Springs project.
I will say, I think it is good that people that work for the city are thinking creatively about ways that the town could purpose art. I think that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
think that might, you want to include, Barry, in terms of the replies.
Yeah.
I think that's healthy and good.
Yeah, I do too. Good point, Andrew.
That we're not ruling out everything.
So speaking of not ruling out everything, our second item on the agenda is the spring project. Now, our discussion last time was that we're proceeding with the thought that Tom Fruin will not be available to us. So we're going to continue in that mode. I do think that I have had a couple talks with Karen, and I think that by the end of next month, we're going to have some stuff for us to all look at. And I think that maybe what I'll do is I'll just start shooting you pictures of stuff as it comes in. But I don't know how to do this within the city's confines of, because I'd rather just share everything at the meeting. Now, artists, like last time, are a little nervous about proposing something when they don't know if we have any money, and they don't know exactly where it's going to go. So,
So Cliff, if FOIA is the issue, I think one thing that we do is you can send to the group for informational purposes and be specific that you're not looking for reply, do not reply all.
oh,
And that people can reply to you individually, either by phone or email, and give you your thoughts. But the idea is, to your point, if they're sharing with the group, you got to be concerned with FOIA. But you can certainly say, hey group, here are the 6
here's some
options
okay.
for your information.
Well, we won't. I don't think we're going to be that far down the road, but that is good to know. That's what I'll do then as things come in. And I'm going to try and send you as much as we can get, some of which may be available, some as may not. One of the items that came up is the possibility of these small sculptures. They're made out of concrete, and they kind of reference, I might be able to find one. They kind of reference archaeology and also pop culture. But they're small. And so they end up having a, and when they do that, they end up having a, the idea we might have to put like 5 of them in the park, and they're all like 4 foot tall, 5 foot tall, and they would pop in and out from various locations. I think that, I don't know why it's not showing up, but I can't get you a picture. And so we would try to, so we have to ask the park if that's a viability. And this is the situation we get into since we're not fixed. The artists, we really need to be a little focused. We can't be like open to any artist proposal anywhere in town with anything going on and for any amount of money. So we had to make some decisions. So I would like you to verify what I'm proposing is that we focus on the park and we stay with last year's budget, although I don't know where the money's coming from. But I think we can raise that kind of money. But we need to be, so
What was last year's budget? It was 6,000.
well, last year was like $6,000, but then we went to 10 because we got that other amazing thing and we figured we could raise money because it was so great. There are, one of the people that I looked at is a fella, he's an African-American artist. He's kind of well known now. He has, his name is Good, Joshua Good, and he, I don't know why I have a new phone and nothing works. And Joshua Good has these, oh, look here. I don't know whether you'll be able to see these, but can you see that? Like, so that's a concrete sculpture.
My glasses on.
Well, you got to make my screen big. Click on, wait. Well, now it's big on my, you hit pin video. Can you do that?
You can do screen share or split screen sometimes too.
I don't know how to do that.
Oh,
Share screen?
I think that's it. We do
The host is just
You
in
hit
that.
speaker view, and then Cliff just needs to keep yapping, so he's the speaker.
Anyway, so that's one.
Looks like a Simpson.
It is. And so that,
Lisa,
but at the same time, they look like they are
Like Gaelic headstones.
archaeological. They're like archaeological finds. So I mean, this was just one thing that popped in, and that was Joshua Good. The other fella is
What is he making those out of, Cliff?
those are concrete.
Concrete.
The other thing that I saw, that this is made out of recycled bottles, plastic bottles, and that guy is Willie Cole.
Let me see that one again.
That's pretty cool.
I'll send these off to you.
That one's pretty cool. I
Yeah.
feel like that's
He has another one. There's a car. There's a car in the park.
what's his name?
Willie Cole. W-I.
Oh, I have somebody that might be good.
But we well, anyway, so what we're looking for is ideas, and we don't know what's available or what's not available. The concrete ones, he just started making them. He's been making bronze, and he's got little bronze pieces this big that are $2,000.
That are how much?
$2,000. It's not much, not bad for a bronze sculpture. You got foundry work, and you got to finish it and refinish it.
Cliff, I have a question. When you say focusing on the park, are you talking Canal Front Park?
Right. I think what I want to do is go back to Mr. What's his name? Begins with an I. The guy that runs the park.
Isel, Peter
Peter Isel.
Isel?
Yeah, go
Yeah.
back to Peter and tell him here's what, because he was really gung ho about the last idea, and I thought maybe
That was the water tower, correct?
Yeah.
the water tower.
Okay.
So
At this point, Cliff, I think I need to say something about what Art in Bloom is considering. Is everybody familiar with the Delaware sculptor Charles Parks?
yep.
No.
The state has the right to reproduce any of his sculptures because they have all the molds. And Art in Bloom has been in touch with the state to consider that. Also to go into the Canal Front Park. And so It's at a very early stage at the moment, but Art in Bloom would like to know whether this idea, if it came to fruition, would get the support of PAC.
Well, I think what I don't really want to go into that in detail because we kind of discussed it last meeting. It's going to depend on which sculpture, and it's going to depend on where you want to put it. And what our job would be to do is to help you make that sculpture happen. But
Well, I think it would
we're
be an
not gonna
opportunity for the
approve or
two
disapprove.
organizations to collaborate.
Right. So anyway, so the point would be the way that I think it's supposed to work. If you guys want to do that, that's great. And you can propose it and we can talk about it. And we could talk about maybe even allow us to consider which sculpture might be a better one. I mean, if you're going to give us a one-off option, that's not working with us as much as saying, here's what we're thinking. What do you think of these sculptures, and getting our input, which would be working together. So that's how I would let that go. And I don't want to go too much farther on that because we discussed it at the last meeting. So do you understand? Does that make sense, Tony?
Not entirely, but you said you don't want to go any further, so that's good enough for me.
Okay. Well, I mean, I believe that's how we're supposed to work. So the point of where we were on the subject with these proposed pieces is that we have a different. We're going to try and get as many as we can for next meeting, because that puts us in plenty of time for the spring. And I think that if you want to think
Cliff,
about
at those price points, are these purchases, or are these
we don't know. This would be a temporary show.
temporary? Okay.
Maybe just for the summer. Then it depends on what we get, and we're not really out to purchase, because when you own art, there's a lot of, there's the insurance and there's the maintenance, and then there's the fact that if you don't like it, you're stuck with it forever, and we don't want to do that. But we should get a lot of other proposals. So does anybody else have some proposals or artists they want to dig up and send them to us? I'd still like to do a project next summer.
I have 2 people I'll send you.
All right. And we can talk, and basically if you're going to send them to me, send them to Karen also, because we want to include that. So let's see. All right. So financial. Anything else on the spring projects? We're collecting ideas. We're going to go for the park. Go ahead, Denise.
Well, this may be a big digression, but I guess I personally think we should consider spaces other than Canal Front Park to make our mark. We did that with the first piece on the bike trail. I would also like to see something come from Lewis up rather than from the top down. And I'd like to see something reflecting a little bit of Lewis history. And I've had this idea floating around in my head for a number of months, and it's just a thought, but it's based on something I saw in Asheville. It was a bench with a top hat and a cane, and a sculpture. And there was a little plaque saying that that's where the former opera house had been in Asheville. Just one of the things that came to me was if we, and I don't know how hard this would be, but I'm thinking of Ship Carpenter Square and that area. And if you had a bench somewhere, it could be off to the side, anywhere, with a baseball glove and a baseball and a plaque saying what had been there.
Right.
You're picking up a part of Lewis history. It isn't something that's obtrusive, large, and whatever, but it's showing a different side of us. I don't think it would be very expensive to do, but I think we'd gain a different kind of support from our community were we to go in that direction. but I guess I'd like to see us go in a different direction other than Canal Front Park. And
That
Well,
sounds
those-
like a great project for the Historical Society.
I was gonna, those are.
well, it might be, we might be able to collaborate with them, and that's another thing. Foundations love it when you collaborate with other organizations, but I'd like to see something reflecting Lewis history. That's my 2 cents.
Right, there's 2 points here. First of all, your first point was like going somewhere other than the park. And we definitely, reserve the right to do that. And a lot of times that I think that depending on, Karen has that list that we did last year of 5 potentially really good sites that we can control and use. And so if we found, oh my God, are you guys, I just lost everybody.
No, we're here.
All right,
We're all here.
you're over here. I lost my Zoom meeting. Shit.
Well, we're hearing you.
All right, so moving forward.
You can shut it down and come back.
No, I gotcha. If we found something else that we wanted to do, we could definitely apply that to another area, and we have at least those 5 areas ID'd. We discussed this idea of the baseball field before, and I feel like there's the other question, which was somebody else brought up, is that really our kind of project, or is that a better project for the Historical Society? Because the bench itself is, I think that would be a lovely addition, but I don't know if that's our committee's responsibility, where we want to go.
And
But
there's
to Denise's point, I think if you tie in Historical Society, which is right there as well, and then assuming we can make it out of COVID, and you have, say, Little League opening day, and that's the point where you launch it and you say this, you give everyone the background there. Now you're saying who's responsible for putting it there? The Arts Committee and the Historical Committee, and you're educating young people around the importance of art and remembering your roots.
And Lewis history.
Well,
and there's
Heidi,
also
go ahead, Carol.
there's also now this African American Heritage Committee who may want some input into this.
Right, Heidi.
When I came on to this group, I just feel like it was not too, like we actually said we wanted to do contemporary art, which is where you go find an artist and their work and bring it, not create a project for the artist do. If we want to do that, I think it could be done, but I don't know that that is how we were choosing it before.
Right.
I guess I never thought we were only doing contemporary art.
That is what I was under the impression of, but
as we developed our mission statement, and you should go back and look at that. Our mission statement is we are here to educate and elevate. And I don't see, and we want to educate the community about art with the idea that someday, perhaps we become a community that has a passion or appreciation and a greater understanding of the way art works and can work in your lives, rather than and in the world of in the art world, as opposed to being an artistic. There's a lot of artistic flourishes on everybody's house. There's a lot of artistic flourishes when you put in a garden, or you design a streetscape. And I had some super artistic benches here, but I think that what our committee is trying to do is take the world of art and present to the community an alternative point of view of what art can be. And that's my focus. I believe totally that that project makes a lot of sense. and it's like, and I think like a Charles Parks sculpture is great. I mean, I knew that guy. I went to school with his son, and they're great, and they're great sculptures. But I think that what our committee is focused on, I mean, and you know, that's an arts form, and he's a great artist, and you can look at the way he builds things. And there's a couple other really great people up in Wilmington. I don't know whether we want to, you know, how much you want to commission, but I feel like that the bench project, you know, is something that we could get the Historical Society to fund and do. We could act as solely as a advisory role, which is a great role for our committee to do, and what we should be doing, and what's one of the reasons we were formed. But it wouldn't be our project. We would be glad to help with the project, but we wouldn't be the lead on this one.
Well, I don't, I guess I'm not, I don't have that firmly fleshed out in my mind. I guess my thought is our committee's art can take many forms. It can be modern, it can be all kinds of things. And we're still educating the public about different types of art. You know, it's just an idea, but right. I've also thought about if we put an ad in the Cape Gazette or something, what would people here like to see? We didn't get much of a response at our meeting, but I just I guess I'm a little concerned that all of this comes from the top down, and we're trying to find artists from other places, which is fine, but there's some artists here too. Certainly Art and Bloom has tapped into that with the Mosaic project and the mural project. But I just think we ought to be open to all kinds of things, not just contemporary pieces.
Well, and the other thing to your point is that there are a lot of organizations that tap into local artists, I think personally. So the fact that we're bringing somebody who brings a perspective from outside is not necessary, but I also think it is bringing something new to this area. Like when people saw that water tower coming, they were just like, I mean, I think
there's room for all of it, I guess.
Yeah, there's room for all of it, but I think that there is some good art here, but there's also some terrible art here. And we show a lot of art that we really want to elevate the art scene and have people want to come to Lewis from New York and from other places and see like, oh, this is this. And then, oh, look at this. It's also great. And this is, you know, going to Tony's gallery, like, oh, look what else is here. But I really think we need to pull in something that not only we want to see, but also people who are in the art world would want to see. Which is super exciting to me as somebody who's like always looking at art. I'm like, oh, that is where I get, when I saw that water tower coming, I was like, sign me up. If we're going to have a whole bunch of art that is good, then that's great. But I feel like we should have like better than good.
I think, well, a lot of this is subjective.
Yeah.
Barry? Barry, you're muted.
I think there's room for all this. I mean, I think as a group, we ought to encourage the creation of art that relates to history. And we ought to collaborate or encourage the Historical Society or the African American group to get together to create something. Do we have to be the lead on all these projects? No, I don't think so. But I think we need to kind of shepherd this stuff through. And I think not only is it our responsibility to bring art here, but it's also our responsibility to kind of shepherd other things into the public view. That bench, or, you know, the Manhattan mural or whatever it is. So, I mean, I think we kind of sort of a
lot of great projects. Nobody's trying to do what we're trying to do.
I understand that.
So when we try to, like, you know, be the Dalai Lama and one with everything, whatever focus point we had, we lose. Because if we have a focus point that's on a more contemporary piece or a more, it doesn't have to be a contemporary artist or a contemporary piece, but a piece that is more energetic or semi-dysfunctional or disruptive or something that's going to create a lot of dialogue and interest, you know, I don't think there's a lot of people out in the community that are going to be trying to do that. And they don't want, and so that, you know, we can hit one end of the spectrum, somebody else hits the other end of the spectrum. We enjoy the whole spectrum, but we don't want to become I mean, I think that the project that you suggest, it's an Art and Bloom project. They could do it easily. That would be great. You know, Tony, you know that's the kind of thing that you like to do. And I think that the Historical Society hasn't jumped on board, but they're close. And I think you get, and I definitely think that if the Black Culture Committee wants to do it, I don't know how they're set up within the city. But, you know, I think there's a lot of people that could do that too. But nobody's going to try and do the kind of stuff that we're trying to do. So we have that role to fill. Our role isn't to fill everybody's need. It's to fill you know, one of the pieces of the broad puzzle. That's how I look at it, and that's why I got involved in it. For, you know, and I'm just. You know, I like to get that energy that's so interesting that people are going to, you know, come and stop and have that dialogue. Anyway, that's my point. Carol?
Well, I think public is part of our name here. And I think we don't have a good way of involving the public in terms of ideas. Not saying they select the artist or the artwork or whatever, but just what they're interested in or what would move them.
Yeah. And I think that it's hard to know staying in the confines of your local community. And I think
also everybody's going to have a different opinion.
True. There's not going to be one opinion.
Well, we sent the mural projects out and we got feedback. I mean, I think we want feedback, and I think we've, you know, gotten feedback from the community.
But I would say the one area where we've really failed in the last, doing what we're trying to do for the last 2 years, is getting community people to, you know, to want to work with us. And I mean, I do think that there is a great opportunity to sit down and say, here's what you're thinking about doing. Like, if you want to do that project, here's how we can get some people that do cool benches, and here's some artists that do those kind of outdoor. There's a whole website of public art that's basically, I've been on it, where it's all about supporting parks and bike racks and kids playgrounds, and it's all really, you know, cool, conceptually, you know, tied together and fun pieces of sculpture. At the same time, it's a functional piece of working of being in a park. So we could help the Parks Department with that, but we don't. Anyway, that's sort of an aside. That's where we failed, I think. But and I think we could do a good job if people would, you know, give it a shot. But anyway, going on to that's a very good point. And Denise, I totally I hear what you're saying. You want to talk to Historical Society and see if they want to do something like that? you want to go out and to the community and talk to those two groups?
To the Historical Society, and who is the other group?
Black Cultural
African
Heritage.
American.
Yeah, African American Heritage Society. So
To
they,
visit their ball field.
I'd be willing to, again.
you know
it-
Trina, Trina Brown,
No,
Trina Brown Hicks.
no.
Um,
I'd be happy to talk to anybody. I just,
Well, that's a good idea. We'll go do it.
I think we need variety. I think we need, again, in the future, thinking of money and funding. Foundations love to see us cooperating, or love to see any organization come, working with others. So that's another point to consider. But I would really like to get more feedback or more ideas from our community here, and I don't know how we do that.
Before we
The other question is, what do we want feedback about? Do we want feedback about what it's hard to ask somebody who hasn't looked at a ton of art what they want to look at. Whereas I
I
think
can
if we
tell
put,
you-
like we did with the 3 options, people could really jump on and like, oh, I like this one. Oh, I like this one. Oh, I like that one.
I can tell you that some of these other committees like that are looking at more like environmental issues, they have workshops. And you may have done this in the past with the community, but basically you set up, each of you maybe brings in an artist's example and the community can tune in and you educate them on different styles of art or current artists, etc. And you could use that as an opportunity to get it back. But they call it like, the Wetlands Committee had one on, they called it a water workshop where they had people come in from the University of Delaware who are, environmental experts and so on. And they run it as a public workshop.
Well, I'll tell you, Andrea, we did have a community event last fall before, and we had 2 speakers, and we had it was not very well attended. We tried to we communicated to a lot of the community groups, and I do feel that I think it's a great idea. I would do it in a heartbeat since COVID's over.
Yeah, it's tough in this environment.
But I also feel like that there are people that have an idea of what they want and they want to do it that way, and they're not that interested in learning so much new
But Cliff, I
stuff.
think it was held before we had actually done anything.
Right.
And now that we have done something, there might be a lot more interest.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
true.
good. Okay. All right, well, let's put that on the agenda then. That's a great idea. Let's figure out a workshop as soon as we're all inoculated in 2024 when we're allowed to leave our homes.
Hope we don't have to wait that long.
That's a great idea, Andrea. I think that's a good point, Tony. We would get a lot more input now because we've been around the block.
Yeah, we've sort of created some interest.
I get some donors.
All right.
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 We served wine. We served wine at our last one. You should have been there.
That's right. We'll hold it at Peninsula Gallery.
I think our
What's that?
previous one, it was sort of vague to the reason that we were doing it, which is part of the
Well,
lack of turnout.
Well, we marketing and trying, it was really hard. And I just don't think the community was interested, but they'll be
But
more.
you could put it in the
interested now.
Gazette maybe, and just tell them like there's a workshop and like you said,
The workshop that, and
June of 2022.
we're going to discuss this naked lady mural that we're planning on putting on the side of City Hall.
You got to give something away.
All right, we got to move on because this is going to be too long of a meeting. I don't want to go more than an hour ever. We have a financial problem, and that is with the state. Carol worked really hard, and Janet, Kathy and Carol and Janet worked hard, and we're not able to get past the rule implementation mentality of, if I'm saying that right. Does that make sense, Janet?
Yeah, yes, I think it does. Obviously, the Division for the Arts has parameters by which they award grant money. one of them, and Carol and I went back and forth quite a bit with them. I talked to them on the phone. Cliff, you sent me some contact information. I also spoke with Kathleen Dinsmore. So one of the stumbling blocks was the time frame by which the grant application was submitted, and the start and completion of the project. And that is really the barrier for getting funding for the mural project. And my understanding, having come in on this in early September, is that the project moved along quite quickly and was finished before I even came on board and was able to even get my authorization to apply for the money. And the application actually, if the start date in the completion date has already come and gone, they will not accept your application. There's no way to
Makes sense.
adjust the application and the date
Can't retroactively apply for.
for submission. So we asked if there was any sort of leniency, a little compensation given these issues that came up, and we did not get a positive response.
I think they also, I mean, to us, they'd indicated when we told them we weren't, I mean, you talked to them, I think, Carol, about this, was when we said we weren't going to take the money for the tower project.
Yeah.
They thought maybe they'd be able to reserve that and pass it to us. That's the only reason we asked for this money, because we knew we were behind on the deadline. But the bigger problem is that I don't feel like the state tried to help us. I mean, it's like, well, you didn't qualify, I'm sorry. And I mean,
Well, I think probably what they're saying is you got to apply project by project. One project didn't go, so
Right.
you got to submit again. So
Well,
I mean, I understand that, and
I-
we didn't have the timeline adequate to submit again. So
I'm fine with them turning us down. I'm just trying to look for going forward, because we had a lot of trouble on the Fruin also. There's like not anybody up there that you can so help. I mean, generally you find somebody that likes you in the foundation, you say, what do I got to do? And they walk you through the process. They say, make sure this person gets it, make sure this is in there. And they help you go and get the grant, because they're there to give the money away. That's their job, as opposed to finding reasons not to give you the grant.
well,
We haven't found anybody who wants to help us give the grant. And Carol, does that sound similar? I mean, is that how you feel about it?
Well, it was a different kind of a project, and it was into the next year. And they want you to have the application in 6 weeks before the beginning of the project.
well,
Our project was already finished.
Right, but we got all that. All right, so what about the next project?
just do it in
But,
advance.
but you need to have the information in hand for the application. Do the application, then do the project.
Okay,
Right.
well, that's, yeah, and this is, this is what we get into, like, are we gonna get a grant money? Can we afford to pay somebody? We have to move forward expecting to be able to get a grant. And then we
Well, I don't
can't,
think you,
and the grant people are saying, where's your money coming from? And so the artist's saying, where's your money coming from? And you say, well, we think we're getting it from the state. Anyway, the last one worked out okay. I will say that we want to announce to the press that because the state turned us down, that Leanne Wilkinson came in and picked up the state's $1,000 grant.
oh,
Wow.
great.
So she's going to contribute it for us. And I got to get that into the newspaper somehow.
Did we get everything we needed in the end?
To Leanne?
No, did we get?
Is there any more shortfall?
Mhm.
Well, I don't know, I don't know about the,
I'd like to get her name in the paper too, is what she's saying.
Just wondering if we
The,
were
uh,
covered, or
the,
did
the,
the fundraising work?
I haven't heard about the money that you were raising. The,
Yeah, they said it would take a month and a half.
and that's been a month and a half. So I don't know whether it's in yet. It's about a month and a half. Anyway, that's the only money that hasn't shown up. The other money is in the bank. The first money, the Far Path money is in the bank. And Leanne's money is not in the bank yet, but she
So
won.
Leanne and Dogfish are still waiting. We're still waiting on them, like $2,500.
Yeah, Leanne's in for 1,000.
Mhm.
So anyway, so that went okay. I feel like that you know, as we're moving forward, I, you know, we're gonna have to do it all over again in 6 months. I don't know how. I don't know what the feeling is on the city. We still have this budget that they gave us that we don't get to spend the way we wanted to spend it, and we will have money left over, which as we do every year. But I kind
I
of
think we just have to just spend it on non like installation and stuff like that.
right.
I mean, I have a problem that say with people that say I don't want to spend money on art when we spend money on landscaping and streetscaping and concerts. It's all art, you know. So
Yeah, well, it's just the public.
those same people are the ones that go to the outdoor concerts, you know, and that's all.
It's just your priorities. Everybody's got their priorities, right, Andrew?
I was going to say, we'll save that conversation for another day, Barry.
I don't want to bring it up, but,
Right.
you know.
So anyway, we have some people in they're concerned about our wasting city money, and I don't want to spend money wastefully, which is why every year we've turned in more money than we returned as much money as they gave us. We return a lot of money. We don't spend extra money.
Well, if we can do projects without.
Well, and to Denise's point about collaboration, I mean, these other committees, they get budget too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's true. Well, Denise, would you do, I mean, Carol, maybe you and Janet could do something for me. I believe that in a perfect world,
Where's
the
that?
state of Delaware says, if you have your application and it's complete and it's filled in by this such and such a date, and if you want to do something in June of next year, your application has to be in January 1st or whatever. Let's find out exactly what that is and write it up and mail it to us so we all know what the regulation
Deadlines are.
the deadlines are.
So when they
Timeline.
say do you have to have all your details in place? Is that
Well,
what they're saying?
That when you say the application's complete, that's what they're going to tell you. Now, whether we're able to complete it, I think if we have everything in and say, well, we don't know exactly we don't know how we're going to market it on the internet, because they asked Carol,
They wanted background on the artist, for one thing. And in this case, we hadn't selected the artist.
So what if we applied with 5 artists that we were looking at?
Right. That would make sense. I do feel that we can.
We have to be ahead of it.
Yeah. So if we send it in and there's a couple of blanks, it's in.
Or
Right.
if we send it in with these are our options, like we're looking at these 3 artists but we have not gone to completion with who we want, but we're bringing a sculpture, one of these 3 to the park. Like we give all of the answers except for we're not 100%. I don't know.
Yeah, that's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I will
Not
find
necessarily
out.
how the state looks at it, I'm afraid.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Janet?
I don't know that they'll do that. I think they want to see the artist that has been selected, but I will try and confirm that with them. They also want your budget. They want the full budget.
Sure.
Yeah, Well, we filled these things out twice. The question is, what's the timing?
Well, it's,
What's the
But the
what?
question also is that you
timing,
have to know what it is that you're asking money for. And if you
Yeah.
put it in with 3 different artists and say, we
Right.
haven't made a decision, you're not going to get it.
you're not gonna get it.
Yeah.
The timeline was pretty clear. It was, I believe, 6 weeks
Right.
prior to the start of the project. So it's not an inordinate amount of time, but it's quite specific. And I think the timeline with the mural project, it just rolled so fast. And he was done in what, like 2 or 3 days?
Well,
Yep.
Janice, there's 2 kinds of grants. One is, these are the $500 grants. They're the $1,000 grants, the little ones.
Right.
I want to know about the $5,000 grant.
Okay,
I want the big one. And I think that's going to have a lot more lead time.
And
Okay.
what are the rules about funding it through other endowments, like private endowments, for example, but other art endowments
Who's
besides state? I mean, besides funding through states, there's got to be family,
Foundations and stuff.
foundations that are out there giving.
Well, we got foundation money for the last project.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So
True.
how do those work? How can you get those in advance in terms of
Well, you have, again, it's an
You have to,
application
like, know the guy-
process.
the same idea? You have to be specific about.
Yeah, and
yeah.
they want to know exactly what it costs, who the artists are. All the blanks have to be filled in, and it has to be submitted by their timeline.
Or you find people who with foundations.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, that always helps, but
that always
but
helps.
they have to justify
aren't
how
gonna-
their money's being spent. And they have to play by the rules. You
but-
can't.
Right.
At the scale that we're playing the game, we're not going to be out there hiring somebody.
What about Freeman Foundation?
Yeah, we haven't done
I-
it.
There you go.
I don't think anybody. Well,
So-
it's fine to try. I think there's some other local foundations that we could look at here.
Want to get us a list of those for the next meeting, Denise?
I can curl up with a foundation directory and see what I can
And then
find.
Clifford
But
cold
I mean,
call
why
them.
not? I mean, I don't mean to dump it on you, but you have some good ideas. But I think
no,
that
but I did. I mean, I'm doing this from experience. But you are right. There are program officers who help you through the project, but you can't do it after the fact. We've
Right.
got to.
Right, we know that. We
Yeah,
the only
we've got to
reason
be
we're
ahead
trying
of
to
it. I'll
do
be
that-
happy to see what I can find from public art locally.
The only reason we were trying to do it was that they indicated it was a possibility when we told them we weren't taking the money for the Fruin thing.
I'm not hearing
You
you.
mumble.
Cliff.
That's it. The only reason we tried after the fact is that we were told we should
Right.
because of the COVID, and then we didn't take our other money, and it was part of the discussion. So we knew what may not have happened.
Well, they also seem very willing. We're glad that we didn't cancel the Fruin project. We were postponing it.
Yeah.
And if we applied for next year for that, we would.
Okay, well, let's apply for $10,000 for the Fruin project.
Yeah.
And if we give them 15, I'm sure we can get it here.
What?
If Fruin gets enough money, he'll come.
Oh,
If the state wants this project here, they can give us the money and then we'll get it.
okay.
And then we would be ahead of it, of
Yeah.
our timeline.
So if they really said, we really like this project, or we're glad you didn't cancel it, say, and then you gotta ask them how glad.
Well, can we apply for it and apply for 10,000?
Well, yeah,
It's a different kind of grant.
right, but we can. The answer is yes, it's a different grant. These little grants
It's a
really
different
aren't,
kind of grant.
right. And I do feel like that these little
And
grants
those are the ones that come around once a year.
Right.
and have to be planned
The
out.
Arts Access Grant, the one that we applied for and got, is a rotating, rolling grant application.
And those really aren't the grants ultimately we want to be dealing with anyway. We want the other ones,
The big ones.
the big boys. So we need to get the timing on the big boys. That would be so that's a whole different program, right, Carol?
Right.
All right. So I'm sorry, my alarm is
1
going
hour.
off. This is. Do we have any community proposals to discuss or people that want to work with us or anything like that? No, that's new business.
Get me the names of the people I need to speak with. Well, I'm the director of the Historical Society, but the
I
name
can
of
get
the
you-
African American
I can tell you that.
group.
Denise, I can get you that information.
Okay, I'd be happy to pursue it.
All right. Well, I'm going to write a note to everybody because this was a pretty good meeting. We had several really great ideas. I like the workshop idea a lot. Tony was telling me it might succeed now that we're actually doing something. And I never thought about that. You're right, Tony. That's a really good point. So we're going to work on getting our timeframes together.
Can we do a Zoom workshop?
I don't.
You could.
You'd get a much bigger audience. I mean, in terms of attending, because it's much more convenient to tune into one of those than to show up at City Hall.
And we could have multiple panelists, like we could have either Karen or we could have,
Well, we have to think of the focus of what's the point of the workshop.
yeah, so maybe that's something we need to talk about.
All right, what the workshop point? Yeah, okay. We'll get some ideas for the next meeting. Everybody can bring some ideas that would be appropriate for the workshop. I think that would be that could be cool. We could even promote it with it on the paper, you know, if we wanted to. Barry, you're gonna write that letter. Thank
Just wrote
you.
myself a note on my desk right here.
And will you check with the possibility of doing these multiple installation points within the with your park committee lady? Actually, you're on the parks committee. For who's in charge of that park?
Which part?
Alpha Park.
Malfront?
Rodney Robinson.
All right. Will you check with him? And I'm going to call Peter Issel.
About
The possibility of doing
another
a multiple point installation. Yeah.
same place, probably.
Yeah, and it's going to be a temporary installation. I guarantee you, Tony, if we did this, that's going to be there and gone before any kind of Charles Parks sculpture could be manufactured. So it's not.
Yeah, maybe next is that project. Who
All
knows?
right, so I'll call Issel. All right, that is exactly 1 hour. I need to adjourn.
No, an hour and 3 minutes.
Well, wait, Heidi was late. We waited for her.
Literally
1 hour.
off of class at the 6:30 mark and jumping on at the 6:30 mark.
All right, so that works out
Best
okay.
I can do.
Well,
Adios,
next
amigo.
Thursday, if you can end those classes at 6, we can start earlier and get out of here. We can start at 6:05. That would give you 5 minutes to relax after class.
Don't
All
let
right,
You pay me well.
All right.
I move we adjourn.
Mission to adjourn. Approved.
Okay.
All in favor.
Second.
Aye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you,
Good to
Janet.
see everybody's smiling
Thanks,
face.
Cliff.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.